Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another video. Today we are going to be swapping a corroded condensate return pump for a steam boiler heating system. Hope you enjoy. I always like it when other tradesmen take pride in their work. The electricians that do a lot of the new construction here at the school do a good job at labeling the circuit and panel number. So on the service switch for the condensate return pump that we're changing, they have it labeled panel 11, circuit 32. So I've already been here. I made sure that that jives with what's shown in the panel. So 32 is right here. We're gonna turn that off. They have the breakdown sheet here as well. Condensate return 32. We're gonna shut that off, and that's gonna make our circuit dead so we can unwire everything and kind of change the configuration. It always makes me happy to walk through the mechanical rooms and see things that we've done previously for the school. We did some piping here for the sprinkler system for the sports fields. That was back in 2021. And then we also rebuilt this Zurn Wilkins RPZ. This is a 4-inch model, I think, back in April of 21. The college that we're working at is a Catholic private school. It's been around for a long time and has a lot of really cool old architecture. The chapel that I'm standing in is heated by the steam system that we're currently working on. So this is the mechanical room for the steam boiler and also the duplex boiler feed pump. Duplex meaning that it has two pumps operating on a single tank. There are multiple condensate return pumps in this building. The purpose of the condensate return pump is because the return has to make its way back to the boiler, or in this case, the boiler feed tank. Because this building is so large, it can't rely on gravity alone to make its way back to the mechanical room. So there's multiple condensate return pumps. Condensate will flow back towards any one of them. When the float in the tank rises, the float switch will turn on its pump and send the water back to the boiler feed tank. This will hold the water until the boiler calls for makeup water, which will turn these pumps on and send water back into the boiler to keep the boiler water level at the correct height. Looks like we have a leaking sight glass. That'll need attention. The condensate return pumps are simplex stations, meaning they only have one pump. I hope I explained that fairly accurately. I had to do some research on this system myself because it's the first one of these that I'm ever going to install or replace. We're always learning on the job. This is our setup for the day. Here's our new steel catch tank for the condensate. The one we're ripping out is made of cast iron. And the bottom of the tank is rotted, that's why it's coming out. Got all our tools, lights, threaded rod stuff. And here's our accommodations, or I should say my accommodations for the day. It's so unbelievably hot and humid in here. We put this fan in here to try to help, but the boiler's just been running continuously, so it doesn't really ever get any better. But there's the old offender. We're gonna rip it out, put a new one in. Here I'm opening up the control panel. I'm gonna test for line voltage with my NCV, kind of get a feel for whether or not everything is correctly shut down. We did turn the breaker off and ended up being the correct one on the first try, so that's always nice. I wouldn't trust your life with a non-contact voltage detector, but it's a really handy tool to have just to quickly test and see if you have live voltage. The new catch basin doesn't have the convenient holes for the bracket to hold my panel up, so we actually had to mount the panel to the wall in this case, which actually worked out halfway decent. Here I am cutting out the header that accepts the condensate from two different areas of the chapel. Pivot that out of the way and get rid of that. Everything is coming out of here in this case. I'm getting prepared to cut out one of the two condensate return lines. This is coming from a steam trap. At this point, I'm really trying to unscrew this 3/4 male adapter. I had a really good feeling this was going to come out super easy, and now we're quickly finding out that that is not the case. Frustration is setting in here for sure. This is Steam 101 here. I was overzealous and thought this 3/4 copper male adapter would come out of this wet return, and all I did was make it an oval. So I have no choice but to cape it in order to get those male threads out of there so we can run iron pipe over, and we're going to give it a shot, see if we can get it done. Once we finally came to terms with the fact that that male adapter was not going to come out of the T, then the only step left is to cape it. So we're cutting the threads with the Sawzall, and then we can go at it with a hammer and chisel. Some capes are harder than others, and some you think are going to be a piece of cake, and they really suck. That little 3/4 brass male adapter was actually kind of difficult, but we got it out of there. If you're semi-skilled, which I'm only semi-skilled, you can cut it out without damaging the female threads, and that looks like that's what we did here. So we should be able to thread a nipple in there, no problem. Oh, God, this is fucking heavy. Grab a hold of this. Ready? Pick your end up. So at this point, we're now fully demoed. The old unit is completely gone. The return branches from a couple different areas of the chapel, those are also cut or unthreaded back to whatever point I wanted to start from. Now we're getting our plan for where the hangers are going to go, where the control panel is going to mount, where the service switch is going to go, and we're just kind of figuring stuff out. I was already here about a week or so prior, and took some pictures and some measurements, got my spec sheet for the new return pump. So I'm already at least somewhat aware of where my stuff is going to go. But things always change a little bit when you get on site and actually get started. So here I'm pointing to the discharge line as well as one of the branches for the return. That's our vent line that goes outside. And we have a nice concrete pad to start from. Steam is notoriously difficult on pipe and fittings. I know I'm going to be the next guy to service this pump, so I try to make it easy for myself. I put some Megalock on the threads of this union, so when it comes time to remove the union to pull the system out, it's much, much easier to do. That may never happen, but if it does, I made it easier for myself. All right, I apologize about the lack of video, but it's really hard to get the camera in a good spot. It's like a really pretty small area in here, but we got the box on the wall, switch on the wall, pump and tank are installed. I'll do a full overview of what's going on here when we're all kind of at a stopping point, but we got a lot of stuff piped in. I got some cleaning up to do, but I got the pump panel wired into the float switch. As this lifts, we will send power to the pump, and as it lowers, the pump will shut off. And we are done, ladies and gentlemen. This is the finished product. We used MegaPress fittings for this, as well as threaded black iron. These are rated for steam, as well as a bunch of other liquids, hot water, you name it. Non-potable, though. Got isolation valves on both the discharge and the branches for the condensate return. We have our manifold here with our Watts cast iron Y strainer. Full port drain valves on the Y strainer and on the bottom of the tank to aid with service. These get clogged a lot less often, and if they do get clogged, you can shove a screwdriver in there and clear them out, as opposed to a boiler drain, which has a bonnet washer on it, which is impossible to clear out if it gets clogged. You just have to replace it. Unions galore, so if this tank goes bad again in the future, you loosen the 3 unions and slide the whole unit out, slide a new one in, and you're back up and running much faster. We mounted the panel to the wall as well as the service switch. Got our new wire run to the float. A little bit of a simpler setup this go around. Actually, this panel probably isn't even necessary. If they want it wired the other way, I can come back and wire it with you know, the panel being functional, but right now it's just on hand operation. Everything looks really good here. Pitch is super important with steam, so those pipes there, as well as over here, are pitched 1/4 inch per foot towards the manifold. If they were pitched flat or backwards, then the water wouldn't make it to the manifold, obviously, and also you'd be getting water hammer problems and whatnot with steam systems. Overall, really happy with it. Tight space, but we made the best of it, and it was a good day. Thanks for watching.